All right, welcome to the relationship show. This guy's 38. He says, thinking about getting back out there, nervous for so many reasons. I have a bad track record um, when it comes to relationships. I've finally figured out my problem, but I'm scared that I will make the same mistakes again. Like most men, I'm a chaser. True. It's like that's probably the most common thing I see is like guys chasing women and wondering why it doesn't work. It's like you want to chase in a way that doesn't feel like chasing. So you want to just have an outcome when you talk to her on the phone or initiate contact with her. So it's like set a date and have that purpose, not about like talking about like what she's doing or things like that, or getting to know her over the phone. Just get to the point. He says, I also have a much higher than average desire to seek others' approval, validation, and acceptance. Other things that will lower her attraction comes across as you really needing her or really being reliant on her, not self reliant. And when she gets that vibe, it comes across as her not feeling like she can trust your strength, which doesn't really make her feel safe. Um, but one thing is you recognize this stuff. It's like you are the one bringing this stuff up. So that's the first step, acknowledging it, being aware. Then you can move forward and, working on really eliminating it and becoming, I guess, the person you want to be as far as what you're going towards and the outcomes you want to achieve. He says, I'm a people pleaser and not confrontational. And so with confrontational, it's like sometimes people get the image in their head of like masculine men as like assholes, basically. It's like people that are like jerks that just put everybody down and things like that. They're like bullies. But it's not about that. It's about, the people that do that, they might be perceived as in their masculine at some times, but it's like, one, it's not necessary to do that. It's like, but two, it's like those people are usually weak and insecure and fearful themselves that are putting other people down and acting like jerks to other people. It's like that's not like what being masculine is about, or just being like the tough guy. And so it's not about putting other people down. It's about defending your standards. So it's like if you have a standard in your life about how people treat you, what the standard of your results you have to be in the business, standard of how the relationship's going, if everything's being kept up. It's like being assertive in standing up for those standards. And that's what it's more about. It's not about putting other people down at all. If it comes to it, it's like it could be necessary to, put someone down if they like basically like attack you, or basically you have to defend your leadership in the thing. And that's like one way to pass her test. It's like really you can pass her test by ignoring it, but you have to be like established in your masculinity. You can put her down like as a combat thing. Meaning like if she like throws a barb at you, you throw a barb back at her. But the point is to maintain your standards. That's really what it's about. It's not about putting other people down for no reason. I was horribly awkward in college, and after college, it made me very lonely, very desperate, and very depressed. I've never been good enough for myself. And so, yeah, I mentioned standards. So it is very important to maintain your standards, but also important not to have standards that are impossible to meet. You see this with a lot of people that get into these same patterns of like depression. It's like they feel like they can't meet. It's almost okay. Let's think of it as like an equation. It's like they think like, if I just achieve this, then I'll be happy. But achieving that's like 10 years down the line. It's like now I have to be unhappy for 10 years. It's like we make up these models and stuff in our heads to really kind of sort out meaning, or if you will, or interpret the world. So it's like everyone has their own blueprints and models of the world that they think how life should be. And if it's like our shoulds are impossible to meet, then we can just get caught up in these things like never experiencing the feelings we want to experience. Because if something's impossible to meet, and you have it linked to like an emotion, so it's like if this impossible thing happens, then I'll feel this. It's like, well, you'll never achieve that, so you'll never feel the emotion you'll feeling. I'm starting to consider dating again, but I'm scared. I'm scared of chasing to chase. It's like, yeah, have an outcome. I'm scared of getting too deep into something and then not having the strength to get out. I'm scared of hurting someone else. Yeah, if you're scared of hurting someone, oftentimes what you'll see is eventually you will hurt them. That's just what it is. It's like you have to overcome that fear. And really, it's not about overcoming obstacles like external, it's about overcoming yourself and owning who you are. And if you can own yourself and own who you are and all your past experiences, everything about you, it's like that's one of the most attractive things you can do as far as shifting, how you're perceived by others. The idea of a hookup is now horrifying to me. I'm not sure I would even enjoy it. Probably would. It comes with a strong possibility of forming an attachment that has never intended. That was never intended. But I'm also scared of not dating as well. So, well, both options he says he's scared to do. So it's like, well, either way, he's scared kind of deal. It's like sometimes you just got to confront it. You got to go for it, make a decision and then commit to the decision. Whether it's right or wrong, you commit to it. If it's wrong, you adjust, but it's like make a decision. He says, I'm scared that I'm just setting myself up to become desperate again. In the past, all I wanted was the hottest and most successful person I could possibly find. Great. That's awesome. If you want that, it's like it does go back to your very high standards as well for yourself. And you were mentioned that earlier, how you can't meet your own standards for yourself. So you're kind of in this depression. And now you want the hottest and most successful person. That's awesome. But it just requires you to take that action and to gain the skills and to become someone who, like, the hottest and most successful woman would want to be with. And so it's like, that's great to have this high standards, but only if you have like the rituals to back it up, the rituals and the habits to back it up. If not, if you don't have anything, that you're actually working towards and you're just like looking for like blind luck, and it doesn't, a little bit irrational to think like if you want the best there is and then you take like zero actions, like, well, how are you going to get that? He says, I'm scared that I no longer know what I want. I don't really have a question here. I'm just not really expecting any great advice. I just wanted to vent, and I'm a little curious if others have experienced the same types of anxieties. Yeah, the biggest thing it looks like to me, like why you're experience anxieties, is one, because you're failing. You are not, yeah, and actually, he says here, I don't know if I mentioned or skipped over this paragraph, but he's been in 2 relationships total. Each one lasted 6 years. He says less than a year into each of them, he said he wanted out, but I was too weak and too scared to say anything. So I just kept them going. It's like, oh man, that's tough. It's like, you really got to stick up for yourself. And that's almost, you just have to do it. And how do you get that from a point of where you're afraid to do it? Well, it really comes from an identity, if you will. It's almost like shifting your identity. It's like you have an identity right now that you're going to be passive and you'll kind of go along with whatever she wants. It's like you have to do something in your life and have enough really pain or something to motivate you to shift your identity. And when your identity shifts, it's like that you won't stand up for things that you don't want in your life, or you'll stick up for yourself. It's like when you can shift that identity and you can adopt a mindset that's like, you're on your mission. If it doesn't align with that mission, it's like, okay, if I pursue this, so my mission is, X, and being with this woman, it doesn't, support my mission. And so that gives you a reason to say no, or say, we need to see other people. Instead of just having like no mission and then having no like guiding principle to make your decisions, and then just basically, be in a relationship you don't want to be in for 6 years and then doing it again. So it's like, yeah, find that mission and be able to walk away from people and mean it. It's like, if you can do those two things, that'll really adopt more of a masculine presence for you, and you can get over a lot of these things that you're um, having trouble with as far as success. And also, let's see, he says another thing would be the model of the world. It's like his model of the world is like he wants the very best, but it doesn't seem like he has taken the action or rituals to really achieve that. So it's like either structure your life where you have it and some like rituals, maybe get that product I've got down below that's just like a habit tracker, and it's basically something I've been using for about 4 years now, and it has transformed for music, relationships, studying, fitness, and then health food. And so it's like all it is basically just something that holds you accountable for making and forming new habits and keeping and maintaining those habits. So check that product out below. $7, you can probably find it somewhere else, but it's like I mine has a guide. It's like I've been doing it every single day for 4 years, and I basically say what my struggles were, what what you'll probably encounter with sticking with it, and that whole process. But it's like that is the most useful tool I use on a daily basis, that combined with just like a journal, just like it's some questions in a journal. um, so start making progress on yourself, and once you get started, it'll become fun, and you'll just get better and better.